Welcome back to another Real Steel Cars video. As always, I'm Kevin, and the 2020 GT500 is an impressive car. This thing, 760 horsepower, handles almost as good as the GT350R, but I think it's missing a little something, just a little bit. Now, there are so many cars with, how should I say this? There's so many high performance cars, high horsepower, that it's really honestly hard to be competitive in today's market. So what makes you stand out in the crowd? I mean, yeah, you got the C8 Corvette, the GT500, a couple years back, ZL1 Camaros that are still tearing up the streets. I mean, to be competitive is really getting kind of difficult. But to be unique means your car needs to tell a story. Your car has to have history. There needs to be something else behind your car other than just horsepower. So if that's something that you're into, you might want to look into the Shelby GT. Now this is a car you may or may not know about. There's not a lot of them on the street. Honestly, I've only seen a small handful, and that's from older models. Now the Shelby GT, unlike the GT500, which is built in a Ford factory, the Shelby GT is actually built in-house at Shelby American. The big difference here is that the Shelby GT500 is a standalone car. This car was specifically built on its own platform, with its own suspension, with its own drivetrain, and mass produced in a Ford factory. Now, personally, I like a car that's fun, can tell a story, and maybe has a little bit of history behind it. Something that make you stand out, like I was speaking about earlier. That's where the Shelby GT comes in. Shelby American takes a Mustang GT Premium and completely transforms it with options handpicked by yourself to basically build you the dream car you want. So what happens is their basic package, they will give you performance springs, sway bars, strut tower braces, casting camber plates, wheels and tires, all the Shelby decaling, and a whole bunch of other stuff that's going to make the car handle way better than you can ever possibly imagine a Mustang handling. And adding a little bit extra horsepower with a Borla exhaust and a 93 octane tune, and this thing will bump the horsepower up maybe 20-25 to about 480-ish horsepower. Now, I know that's not going to compete with the GT500, but there is options that you can continue adding on, such as the Supercharger package, which will exceed 700 horsepower. The biggest difference now, when you pull up at a car meet and you park next to that GT500, your car, although both of them say Shelby, yours was actually built at Shelby American. Yours is registered as an official Shelby with a CSM number. CSM numbers is the Carroll Shelby Motorsports number that you will find in their registry under certified Shelby vehicles. You're not going to find that with the GT500, which I understand may not be important to a lot of people, but it makes for story. And I know one of the first things you're going to ask is, how much does all this cost? The starting price is going to be $61,000. So here's a whole list of things that you're going to get with your Shelby GT, and then options added on, of course. But as far as performance is concerned, you're going to get Shelby spec 20-inch staggered wheels, performance lowering springs, sway bars, Borla catback casting camber plates, a Shelby GT deep draw hood with hood vents, help extract some of the heat. You're also going to get a new front fascia out front, which will give you a very unique look with an upper and lower grille, rocker wings, rear spoiler, a new taillight panel, Le Mans style striping. You'll also get driver and passenger side stripes, emblems and badging absolutely everywhere. You know that's how Shelby works. You'll get a CSM numbered dash plaque and engine plaque. Now that's one of those things I told you was going to give you your car that story, that history. Seeing that dash plaque or plaque on the engine bay that says CSM and then your number after it, that's certifying you to be a true Shelby. Now to go along with that CSM plaque, you're also going to get a manufacturing plaque with Shelby Tech's signature on it. who worked on your car, which is an added plus. You're also going to get embroidered floor mats. Not as big a deal as everything else, but you know, it's always nice to have some cool floor mats. Now you'll also get the Shelby door sill plates, which you can opt to have lighted, which is kind of cool. Now you can also get extreme radiators, cooling tanks, wheel studs, performance half shafts, a short throw shifter, custom leather interior on top of all the other embroidering and things you'll get. You can opt for a wide body kit, definitely a cool thing to opt for. As mentioned earlier, you can also get the Supercharger kit, which will exceed the 700 horsepower mark. And you can opt for a rear seat delete and a harness bar if you so desire. Now, one of the really cool things about this Shelby GT that you're not going to get with the GT500 is the manual transmission. That is one complaint I have heard over and over and over about the GT500 was people who still wanted a manual transmission. Now, I know that's few and far between because the dual clutch in that car is absolutely insane, but there's still people that like to roll their own gears, and you can't get that in the GT500. So, if that is your desire, you might want to definitely look into the Shelby GT. Obviously, the more you add on to the car, the more options you pick, the higher your price tag is going to be. So it really depends on, are you willing to pay to get that heritage, to get that story. Now, this isn't exactly a brand new idea. Shelby has done this back in, say, the mid-2000s with the 2007 model, I believe was the starting year. They had a Shelby GT back then, where they took the 3-valve Mustang, lowered it 1.5 inches, did a ton of suspension work, added a little extra horsepower, higher flowing exhaust, X-pipe, I mean a good bit of stuff, and really turned that car into an extremely fun street car. I'm not going to say it was a quarter-mile dragster because I think it only ran like mid-13s at 104, but for a GT with a Shelby performance makeover and a huge history behind it, that's a really fun car. Now, maybe you don't want to pay $60,000+ for a new one, but if you still want that story and a fun car and history, which I believe, I'm sorry, I know people will disagree with me on this, I feel that's kind of fun to have. It makes you stand out, and I know I keep repeating myself with that, but you can buy one of those used. I've seen them for as low as 13,000 original miles on it for under $20,000. Now, I know you're probably thinking, I'm not buying a 3-valve Mustang, I don't care what it is. To have a piece of Shelby history, I think's worth it. It's almost a prideful thing. You go down the street knowing that this is something that was built in-house at Shelby American. And call me sentimental, call me whatever you want, but I think that's really cool. And I think that definitely is that uniqueness and that history that most cars are missing, and it's definitely not something you're going to find every day. But anyway, I'm done rambling about it. You decide if it's worth it for you. Drop your comments down below if you like the Shelby GT, if you already know about it. If this is something new to you, I'm curious to hear what you think about it. I'm obviously a big fan of it. Make sure you drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it, which I hope you do. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and I'll catch you next time.